Hello and a warm welcome. Let us look at the stories that are making headlines at this moment. Doge visits the American taxman. Liberian members of parliament failed to declare their assets. Cost of living soar in Japan and Hong Kong. Pete and Vance call out Europe. And 2026 World Cup tickets expect to dig deeper.
Let us take a look into full detail the stories that have made headlines today. DOGE, which stands for Department of Government Efficiency, led by tech mogul Elon Musk, which is an agency in the Donald J. Trump administration, over the weekend paid a courtesy visit to the U.S. taxman's offices. The visit to the taxman's offices were part of the agency's mission to evaluate and potentially trim some of U.S. agencies, according to a statement by MSM. DOGE's activities at the taxman's offices were taking a look at the description of what each business unit in the IRS does, what it is looking to deliver in 90 days, and what it risks each unit currently faces, according to the sources in the MSM arena. Monrovia, Liberia. About more than 450 government-appointed officials in the country of Liberia have been suspended by Liberian President Joseph Boakai. This is after the officials failed to declare their assets. The office of the President Boakai of Liberia, has said that the officials have been suspended for a period of 1 month without pay, or until the suspended government officials of the Boakai government submit the required declarations. President Boakai of Liberia was elected in November 2023, and one of his main thrusts in his manifesto as he was campaigning was a commitment to good governance, integrity, and an observation to the rule of law. The DRC, Kivu Province, Bukavu. As the race to own the latest cutting-edge technology in the world in a bid to assert one's state of understanding over the New World Order, Bukavu falls prey to the insatiable appetite of the 21st century modern man, in the midst of whose post is trending in the digital world. M23 and AFC rebels that have opposed the Tshisekedi government in the past months have seized hold of a strategic access point within the area. That is the Kavumu airport, located 45 kilometers from the city of Bukavu. The Wazalendo, a band of young volunteers and FARDC soldiers, are operating in the area. Intermediate gunfire were heard over the weekend in the area, and residents in the area described the situation as a takeover without major conflict.
So you might be wondering, where do I get my news from? So as a global southerner who relies on secondary sources of information at the moment, and I usually use my own discernment. I use groundnews.com. Groundnews.com, they have got this dope feature that allows you to look at what the left is saying and what the right is saying and what the center is saying. So for my audience, I just want to let you know, I use groundnews.com. Groundnews.com is the place to be for every independent research of the trending news that's happening in the global south and the global. So groundnews.com for all your international news. Let's get back into it.
Let's take a look at East Asia, Japan and Hong Kong to be specific. Economists, pundits alike have been ringing the alarm bells for a while within the economic sector, as the ripple effects of the pandemic or aftershocks of the pandemic are being felt and realized from across the world, with the DJT government preaching a new gospel of reality check to the rest of the world, while the whole world is not being spared from the tariffs of Donald J. Trump. Recent reports from East Asia are signaling the interesting, rather alarming message that would be an interesting take for us to explore. With the uptake of 25% tariffs across all nations around the world. And well, let's take a look at Japan. According to the Japanese government, they have released 210,000 tons of rice from their emergency stockpiles, which will be sold by the government of Japan to the people of Japan. The increased prices of commodities such as rice in Japan has raised concerns about the accessibility of food on tables for most families across the nation. According to Farm Minister Taku Eto said on Friday, they are in a bid to ensure smooth distribution of Japanese staple food amid soaring prices due to high partly to demands. Meanwhile, in Hong Kong, in the residential area of Prince Edward District, among similar areas, residents who reside in such overcrowded areas of Hong Kong, their futures lay in limbo. The Hong Kong government is planning to crack down on what it calls inadequate housing in subdivided apartments. Many tenants of the Prince Edward residential area are worried as rent is expected to increase. The increase in rental payments is way beyond quite a lot of tenants within that area and around the surrounding areas. And according to the government, which is mandating a minimum size and other baseline standards for their homes, which puts people who are independent of such affordable houses in Hong Kong at great risk. The proposed rules leave many low-income residents certain about their future. Vance and Hegseth in Europe. American Vice President J.D. Vance, while addressing the attendees at the Munich Security Conference, Vance had some points to make for his counterpart. Vance accused European leaders for suppressing freedom of speech. He painted a picture of European politics infected by media censorship, cancelled elections, and political correctness. Vance said that the threat of Europe are not external actors, but Europe's own internal retreat from some of its fundamental values. While Vance was in Munich, Pete Hegseth was in Brussels. The United States Secretary of Defense under the Trump administration questioned NATO's trajectory. Donald Trump's Secretary of Defense said Europe is no longer a priority for the US. He spoke so in front of around 50 NATO counterparts and partners. Analyst Pavel Zerka said Trump is forcing European citizens to accept a more pragmatic approach to its foreign policy, in particular in relations with the United States. He's an analyst for the European Council on Foreign Relations. Okay, this is quite an interesting situation that's actually developing also on the football pitch as the world is gearing for Mexico, USA, and Canada 2026 World Cup, and the tariffs labeled on the rest of the world ranging from 10% to 25%. It's just tariffs on tariffs. India gets tariffs, China is getting tariffs, Africa is getting tariffed, the whole world is being tariffed. It's like, I feel like Donald Trump is like, you are getting tariffed, you are getting tariffed, you are getting tariffed, the whole world is getting tariffed, everybody's getting tariffed. It seems as if everyone is just getting tariffed around this world, around the block right now under the Donald Trump administration. But anyway, it's the rolling 20s. It is what it is, you know. There are 486 days to the FIFA World Cup of 2026. Former US men's national team defender Alexi Latas warned fans on X, formerly Twitter, to expect to dig deeper into their wallets and pockets for a decent once-in-a-lifetime experience of watching CR7 taking his last dance after 90 minutes. General tickets for the World Cup that's slated in 2026 will go on sale after the Club World Cup. Kickoff for the Club World Cup is June 14 and the final is July 13 across 12 different venues. And let us take a look at the stories that have made headlines today. Doge visits the taxman. Liberian MPs fail to declare their assets. Cost of living soar in Japan and Hong Kong. Pete and Vance call out Europe. And 2026 World Cup tickets shoot out of the rafters. More news coming up.